It was a valiant effort, but a losing effort. Big E unable to beat the tribal chief Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Does it matter? Will it scar Big E? We're going to talk about it all in just a second, so stay tuned. This is WrestleXtra.
Yo, this is WrestleXtra. I'm your boy, a dazzle of always, alongside my tag team partner, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. Of course, you are watching on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel and listening on AffinityExtra.com. Survivor Series. Yeah, I don't know why I said it so excited, because I didn't feel that excitement during the show. I'll be very honest. I'll be very frank. It felt like tired series, sleeper series, because
pointless series.
More or less, yeah. There were so many things that could have happened. Like I said it, but I think probably 2 weeks ago. And in general, that with almost all of WWE's pay-per-views over the last 12 months, maybe even longer, storylines and build-ups just seem to be dead. But on the night, the wrestlers perform. They bring everything to the table. Survivor Series just felt as though everyone literally was tired.
Yeah.
Everyone's performance. I think literally everyone's performance just felt tired. There were so many, I don't want to call them botches, but I guess that's what they were. They were just like, not like in your face, oh my God, did you see that slip up? But kind of like, right, what was the point in that? Why did we do that here in the match? Why did this not happen? Just lazy. It just felt lazy. From the booking to the performances, it just felt off. I don't know what that 25-man battle royal thing was. We were fighting for The Rock and Pizza Hut,
basically.
Then we had Vince McMahon holding a golden egg. I mean, I know it's for Red Notice, the film The Rock, and trying to maybe tease a little bit of The Rock probably coming back and all the rest of it. But an egg, it's not Easter. Bro, there was just so many things, like the matches, the crowd was off. New York crowd is difficult in general, but just no atmosphere, just no nothing, bro. It was just so tired. It was just tired, bro. It was literally just tired. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I
mean, like you said, it felt like this is November. What do we do in November? Survivor Series. Do we have to? Yes, they're expecting it. Fine, let's put on Survivor Series. And that's how it's kind of felt since Saudi Arabia. Because even the builds for it, like for some reason they were holding back on kind of letting us know, the matches. Usually we have rosters invading each other's shows. The traditional Survivor Series men's and women's matches were announced on Twitter in terms of the people that were participating in them. The entire thing was just very tired. There's no stakes. There's no consequences. It's literally like, this is in the calendar, so we've got to do it. And I remember hearing years ago that Vince himself said, this thing is tired. Like, let us take Survivor Series out of the calendar. And
I'm down for it now.
And so apparently it was maybe the Kevin Dunns and the Pritchards around him that were like, no, we've got to keep it. It's a staple, blah, blah, blah. And Vince said, okay, cool. I mean, the fact that Vince was on screen, for me, it popped me. I love seeing Vince. Although we know all the decisions around it, I just can't help when I see Vince. I just remember back to those days of the Attitude Era and stuff. I love seeing Vince on screen. However, the fact he was on screen tells me this is a desperate scream for help. Like, there's nothing else to really market this show around. Let's put the boss on TV, because then all of a sudden, oh, maybe this show's important.
Yeah.
Vince pulls out his the egg. The egg goes missing. All of a sudden, we've got a whodunit storyline. Vince has been doing that from time. Like, someone gets knocked over backstage. Oh my god, whodunit? And that's the running theme throughout the show.
Right.
These are tropes of Vince he's been pulling out since the 90s. Like, it just shows this show, in terms of Survivor Series, didn't really mean much in the landscape of things. But yeah, I think that they were right to remove the December pay-per-view. Then back with day one on January 1st. Let these guys and girls just let the rest of the year just play out however, and maybe come back re-energized on the first day of the new year.
I mean, I don't know whether it is physical tiredness or mental tiredness when it comes to the talent. Because obviously they've gone back on the road, in recent months, stuff like that. Then we're getting the tired build-up of Survivor Series. No one really cares, or the board and creative don't really care about it either. So should the performers care? And that's probably what came out in the end. But the other thing that was upsetting was all these little storylines and little things that we were probably expecting or predicting to happen, or even had teases of and all that kind of stuff. So even down to, okay, we had The Rock. That was kind of like, okay, be very surprised if that was to happen. It would have been a massive thing, all the rest of it. So the fact that it didn't happen isn't like, oh my gosh, why did it not happen? It's not that. But then there's other things like Seth Rollins breathing down Big E's neck. Why did Seth Rollins not get involved in that match? That match just felt as if it needed something. We were all waiting for either a Brock Lesnar or a Seth Rollins to come out and do something in that match, for that match to really have something, some kind of substance, because it was Roman Reigns just literally destroying Big E. And yeah, Big E kind of lasted, but it wasn't a fight between the two of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was just Roman Reigns beating up Big E and Big E just holding on.
Do you think so?
Most. That's what it felt like to me, bro. That's what it felt like to me. There was flashes of Big E doing his thing, but it was more so, Roman Reigns doing him over.
I think there's obviously the element, and we all probably can't help but doing this sometimes when we're watching it. We know Roman's gonna win, so immediately we're not invested. If that's your case, because not that we have nothing against Roman, it's just because we know the outcome. The outcome is obvious. I thought Big E was made to look very good in he put on a good performance against the top dog in WWE. This was a very much WWE centric guy. These are two guys. I even felt somewhat nostalgic watching this, because I've been watching these two since FCW.
Yeah, of course.
I remember watching FCW when I watched this match. I remember watching FCW when I was in uni, and I was just like, oh my god, like these two trying to find themselves in FCW. Now look at them, like it's amazing. But obviously Roman Reigns is still on another level. Although they both hold the top titles in the company, Roman Reigns is on several notches above Big E. Now, the only question I had somewhat was answered, but I'll ask it to you. Last year, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, same position, Survivor Series. Drew McIntyre was protected in defeat. Big E, I would probably say, had a better showing during the match than Drew McIntyre did last year, but wasn't protected in defeat. Clean loss, right?
Yeah.
We fast forward to Raw last night. Big E faced Austin Theory in the main event for the WWE Championship. Whether we want to admit it or not, Austin Theory was protected in the finish. He was distracted by Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. He turned around and got a big ending. I don't think that's how our WWE champion should be beating people. And I'm not sure why Austin Theory was protected in defeat.
Now, for me, it says a lot about Austin Theory, which isn't a bad thing. I love him. And, for me, he's the future. Like, the second I saw that guy, even way before WWE, I'm like, this guy's the future of wrestling, literally, straight up. So I don't mind that. But when we're comparing it to what happened to Big E the night before, and yeah, Austin Theory standing at the moment and where he's at. I would have rather that whole thing happen at Survivor Series. So Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, or one of the two or both of them caused the distraction for Big E. Roman Reigns, gets the spear and boom, that's the match over. That was what I was expecting, and kind of for me would have been a better outcome. It then would, protect Big E in the end, and give a little bit more to what happened in the match. I must have just watched it with different eyes. I don't know, but I kind of felt as if Drew McIntyre's match last year was a better match.
I think
it was a better match, and because it wasn't obvious who was going to win, and then as much as we expected it to be Roman, you were still like, oh, there's a possibility. Whereas Survivor Series, you weren't, not for 1 second.
Yeah.
Even with Big E's flurries of greatness, did you ever think that he was going to win? That's why for me, it just felt as if it was the Roman Reigns show and Big E just got beat up. But obviously, being Big E, he's going to give a good show, and he's the WWE champion. They're not going to have him just completely destroyed, of course. But I don't know. I don't. And to answer the question that was at the top of the show, and why we're talking about this, I don't think it necessarily hurts Big E. I don't think people are going to start looking at Big E now thinking he's not good enough or whatever else, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's any of that at all. It's definitely not going to go that far in the slightest. But at the same time, I just still would have preferred it to be a match where I felt as if something different was going to happen to what we all expected. It just didn't.
I mean, going back to your point with Drew, I think the circumstances was very different. Roman Reigns had just made his return, had just won the Universal title. It was very fresh. We were loving everything we were seeing from Roman week by week. The build to his Survivor Series match with Drew was so much better, saying Drew's my favorite number 2, and literally inviting Drew to SmackDown, having that press conference thing they had, or the signing of the contract, and just embarrassing Drew. I remember Drew being red in the face. like basically what Cena done to Roman years ago, Roman basically done that on some type of level to Drew. And then remember, if you remember correctly as well, I think Randy Orton was actually champion, and they did the usual switch, made Drew the WWE champion just before Survivor Series, to have that match with Roman. And I think at the time it was much because Drew was the top guy before Roman returned. So it was very much like a very close, this is 1 and 2 in the company.
It literally was 1 and 2.
Whereas Big E is technically, 2 in the company after Roman. But I feel like maybe because he's been around for a lot longer, we ain't taken him for granted. I think a lot of people are enjoying the run so far more than they probably thought they would be. But I think maybe it's just generally the build. The build was nonsense. And, like everyone's been saying, New Day versus Bloodline was there. That was your out. You could have had that match, found a way for neither Roman or Big E to be pinned. Bloodline would have probably still won. But they opted to do this thing. And, we speaking, like you said, the main point of this conversation is, will this kind of hurt Big E? He's kind of got on the horse straight on Raw and just forgot about it. He said, I let down a lot of people, but he's obviously got to keep proving himself, etc., etc. I hear that, but at the same time, if Roman picks up the mic on Friday and just says, I smashed him and all that stuff, then it means something. It's not all of a sudden just WWE champion versus Universal champion. It means something because they're now going to kind of use it in the storyline. He'll probably use it to mock Xavier Woods a bit further, and that's when it's like, is there a point in this? Is it necessary?
And you know what you say, everyone kind of was asking or expecting or wanted the Bloodline versus the New Day. It would have been a great way to move away from it being all about SmackDown versus Raw. And it would have given us what we wanted. And as you said, protecting both champions, neither of them would have been pinned. Everyone would have had a great showing in some way. And I know that we kind of we did have that, a couple of months ago on Raw, when Roman Reigns showed up. But I don't know. I don't actually don't think the build-up was that bad. I actually think the build-up was all right. It was fine, especially how it involved Xavier Woods and Woods versus Roman Reigns, and that's a big thing. The new King of the Ring versus the Universal Champion.
Yeah,
that's a big thing, and it was a believable thing as well, not simply because he's King of the Ring. So that for me was fine. That was cool, but then the match itself was it didn't feel like it was 1 versus 2. Put it that way. That's how it was for me. But it didn't feel like 1 versus 2. And if Big E was the heel in the match, for example, I'd kind of be okay. But nah, I don't know. It just fell flat. I guess the whole night just fell flat. So to then end it with that didn't give me anything to then get excited about. So that's probably what made it worse. But yeah, that's where it was.
Let me take some comments, and then I've got 2 questions for you.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Big up everyone that's watching live. NK says Survivor Series is a typical WWE pay-per-view these days. Inconsequential. Overall, nothing egregious about the booking, but nothing I would revisit. And I'm being nice.
That is NK being nice.
Anthony Price says Roman is the future of WWE. The Bloodline story is making SmackDown the best. NK says, I knew this would happen. Let's be real. Why I couldn't invest in the whole Big E win as much was because he's clearly a secondary champion. He doesn't feel like a champion the way Roman is.
Right.
Yeah. Supine Smokey says Roman is the heel, so E has to fight from underneath, which is true. Anthony Price says, I think Big E is going to lose the belt on the next pay-per-view.
Ooh.
That's a shout.
Imagine.
Could maybe. Stefan Smoky theory is part of Project Orton. There is a lot of similarities between him and Orton, the way they kind of come through and
major similarities.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Okay, my first question for you.
Yep.
Were you part of the brigade that maybe looked down on this pay-per-view because The Rock didn't actually show up? Did that put a dampener on it for you?
No. I didn't. For obviously for a very long time we were expecting The Rock to come back at Survivor Series, like we were told already, or those rumors started before SummerSlam. So part of me was like, okay, this might happen, but at the same time, I don't get too excited about those things.
Yeah.
What I didn't like when it comes to The Rock might turn up was the whole thing of Red Notice, the egg and blah blah blah, but then no Rock. It's almost like we're not bringing The Rock, but here you go. Nah, it's like dangling the carrot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, why do that? But no, I wasn't upset that the Rock didn't turn up. That wasn't the be all and end all of it for me at all. Not at all.
So I was pretty content. I said I knew The Rock's not coming tonight.
Yeah.
The minute I saw Vince step out the limo, I said, "Oh my God, The Rock is coming!" Like, why else is Vince on the show? Like,
it's that was the downer.
And then the minute they played the first video package, because obviously they're doing the 25-year video packages throughout the show,
that as well.
I thought that's when I knew, okay, yeah, he ain't coming, because they ain't gonna play his theme tune on the song 5 times before he actually walks out. You see what I mean? That is very true, actually. I just thought it ain't happening.
Well, to be fair, actually, to say it real quick, if you can see the Rock's playing.
The Rock, yeah, I see him.
Just make me feel better that he didn't show up.
He's there in spirit.
Go on, what's the second question?
Secondly, yeah. So the rumors are that Jeff Hardy is next in line for the Universal title shot, because we all know he's not winning. Which I don't half mind, on the basis that it's defended in a ladder match, because that's Jeff Hardy's wheelhouse.
Okay.
So that'll add something different to it. However, a part of me thinks Xavier Woods should be get the next opportunity. Don't you think so?
course. That would make a lot of sense. For me, I was a massive Jeff Hardy fan in the day, and I was on bandwagon with the Hardys and Jeff when he was champion and doing his thing and whatever else. This returning Jeff and the fandemonium of Jeff Hardy gone, just completely gone. I can't get with how he was the final guy on the SmackDown team. At Survivor Series, I just don't get it. I mean, in the end, Seth Rollins wins, so I guess it's kind of like to play to the fans a little bit, which then makes sense. It wasn't Jeff Hardy that won. If Jeff Hardy won, I'd be like, no, just no.
But Jeff Hardy being so close to the end as he was, I think is the biggest telltale sign that something's going to happen with him very, very soon.
I'd rather it be him beating Nakamura or something like that, or winning the Intercontinental Championship than it being for the WWE. It's just not believable for me in the slightest. For Jeff Hardy we know he's not gonna beat Roman Reigns, but at the same time, even just to face Roman Reigns, I still feel as if the person who faces the champion still has to have an element of being a believable champion as well. So for me, nah. Xavier Woods makes a whole lot of more sense. Storyline wise, obviously him being King of the Ring, him also just having the career that he's had with the New Day and all that stuff as well. So I'm not here for the Jeff Hardy thing. Not taking away anything that he's done in the past. I was, as I said, a massive fan and stuff back in the day, but now, nah, just no.
Yeah, I'm trying to see Xavier get the opportunity at that day one pay-per-view. Again, he won't win it, but that will kind of close off this chapter with him and Roman and stuff. And then maybe somewhere between Royal Rumble or maybe WrestleMania, he beats Nakamura for the Intercontinental title. Because I think that something needs to properly punctuate this singles run that he's gonna have or is currently on, in my opinion.
Definitely. Oh my gosh, something strange has happened. Right there. That's strange.
NK says, I agree with A Dazzle. 150 million% about Jeff Hardy, but they ruined the Xavier thing with the way Roman really already embarrassed him.
I don't think it's ruined, you know. I don't think it's ruined.
Neither do I. I don't.
That adds to it. It kind of gives Xavier Woods almost a chance to, not that he needs to, but almost a chance to revamp. So because Roman's destroyed all of his stuff and his new attire and the king stuff and the crown, all the rest of it, it kind of gives him a reason to come back like, right, this is me now. And I'm here.
Yeah, and if we remember, I don't know, NK, if you've seen it, Xavier Woods didn't actually lose to Roman Reigns. When he was about to pin him, the Usos actually came in and caused a distraction or whatever the case and got disqualified. Roman got disqualified. So, quote unquote, Xavier Woods actually has a win over Roman Reigns. So that's why I think more than anything, they should just do the next match for the Universal title. And then, we go from there.
Yeah, for sure. But the other thing I found interesting on the night Survivor Series, during the men's match, Bobby Lashley absolutely destroyed Xavier Woods. Then had the big thing with Drew McIntyre, of course, with them revisiting their feud that they had for most of this year, which was great. And there was a double count out, which it kind of worked. It kind of made a little bit of sense. Then they played this whole vignette or whatever it was of Bobby Lashley later in the night.
They done that for someone else. They played a vignette for someone else as well. It escapes me who it was. But I didn't understand the meaning of these random vignettes.
I didn't understand it, but at the same time, for me, it kind of makes me think that we're going to get, we're still going to have Bobby Lashley top of the card or something along those lines again.
He won a handicap match on Raw. So I know MVP is back by his side. So it's possible. It is possible.
It's weird what's happening with Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander.
It's very weird.
This isn't exactly the Hurt Business. They're just still two guys doing their own thing.
Two guys wearing black and gold.
Basically. It's two fans, basically, that from the barricade.
Oh, mate, that's madness still.
Oh gosh, actually, let's move on to that real quickly. So we saw this whole madness that happened last night on Raw. Seth Rollins got attacked by a fan who jumped the barricade. There was another fan who attacked that fan who got detained by security as well. And then there was some other completely separate incident with another fan, which involved Montez Ford and MVP. I think the guy was antagonizing Montez Ford throughout the night or whatever, and caught the ear of MVP, who then kind of called him out and invited him to actually come over the barricade with Sami Zayn.
Guy chickened out, bro.
Mate, I definitely would have chickened out with Shelton Benjamin, Montez Ford, Sami Zayn, and a whole lot of other wrestlers behind him as well. But yeah, man, this whole thing was just an absolute madness. Welcome to New York, I guess.
Trust me.
One of those ones.
Welcome to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, specifically, very specifically. I mean, I don't even know where the discussion goes. It's just,
bro. This is the discussion. You are coming to watch a show. Just relax and watch the show. Like you've paid for entry. Like I know, like you might think, oh, I'm annoyed. The show's rubbish or whatever the case is. But like, come on, you've paid your money. You're a supporter of this product somewhat. You should be. You can voice your opinion. No one's saying you can't. To jump the barricade and endanger yourself. I mean, we saw Seth get taken down pretty rough. But let's be honest. If that was Lesnar, then referees aren't pulling him apart. You're endangering yourself because these men are trained wrestlers / fighters. You see what I mean? And this other guy in the crowd holding up Montez's doo-doo. Like, bro, you took your time to write that. You could have just come and booed the guy if you wanted to. You took your time to write it. You got called out now for being a coward, basically, because them man called your bluff. You didn't come to fight MVP and Sami Zayn and Montez Ford when they invited you to. So now you're a coward. Like, people just need to be cool. Just go and watch the thing and come home, you know?
Listen, man. It's worrying that there are still people in this world that think wrestling's real. That's the thing for me. It's scary. It's scary. Yeah, it's these men have come to do whatever it is. What makes you jump the barricade to attack a wrestler? And apparently, I think I saw. I don't know how true or how real this is or whatever else. I think I saw someone on Twitter who was at the show last night say, "Oh, that was the guy that was pacing up and down." So it's almost like he was there to do what he went to do.
There's some other stuff that's come out. There's some other stuff that's come out since where he's like been interacting with an account, a fake Seth Rollins account, for years, like since 2019. And he may be like literally one of these kind of stan fans. Who knows? He may actually have like a mental health disorder.
I believe so.
But like, please just do not endanger yourself by crossing over that barrier, because at the same time, like Seth, he's somewhat getting stick online now for sparing him, even though he had him in some type of headlock. People wanted him to kick him up and stuff. Other wrestlers would have done it. You could have even met a rough security guard before you got to Seth Rollins that would have battered the hell out of you.
That's true.
Like, you jump that barricade, it's open season. It's on you. Everything else that happens is on you.
Yeah, of course. I just don't. I mean, for me, I mean, the second I saw someone jump over the barricade, when it's something so scripted, fake, as many would say, for you to then take the time to jump the barricade to attack someone, sorry, there's some level of mental disorder there straight away. If it was something like football or whatever, that kind of makes a little bit more sense to me, because it's a real sport. We get very much invested in the emotion of it. It is, a very real emotion as well. You don't necessarily ask the questions as mental health and all that kind of stuff. But for something like this, it's just like, really, is this what you're doing now?
It's like you don't like what happened on like Christmas Day EastEnders, and all of a sudden you go down the East End and you're waiting for Phil Mitchell or something. It's madness. Like, You're watching a TV show. Can
Right,
you please
right.
relax? Like,
Just relax yourself. Shout and heckle and all the rest of it. I mean, MVP, I think,
mm,
tweeted it or said it on Instagram about, come to the show, shout as much as you want, tell people they suck and that you don't like them and boo them and all the rest of it. Do all of that. We don't mind. When you start jumping barricades, as you said, it's open season, bro.
that's it.
Um,
Anyone can get it.
and I guess he's very lucky. Seth Rollins is Seth Rollins. It could have been very, very different. But that is that.
Just to close up on this, talk of champions. So, as your friendly neighborhood New Yorker, there's a lot of unhinged people here, mixed with
Right.
the being of a wrestling fan is a recipe for disaster. Seth did
Right.
the right thing, let him and handled him well, and the litigation, especially if the person has a mental disorder, yeah, it could have been an issue. But yeah, man, let's move on and hope no one else tries anything like that anytime soon.
Mate, an absolute madness. Moving on to another madness. We always seem to be the last people to talk about these things because they happen like the day after we do our show.
Yeah.
So last week, Thursday, I believe it was, we got the news that there were more releases. I think it was about 8 different wrestlers that were released from WWE. The big shocker for us was Hitrow. Hitrow were released, and that is Isaiah Swerve Scott, Top Dollar, and Ashanti Adonis. Only 2, maybe 3 weeks, about 2 weeks after b-fab was released, which was only 2 weeks after all 4 of them were moved to SmackDown. What in the world is going on?
No planning. Zero planning. It somewhat makes me even think, right, we don't have a plan for these guys. We know we're gonna release them, but as we have come to know in recent times, if we release these guys on their NXT contracts, it's 30 days and they can go anywhere they want. If we move them to main roster, they signed a new contract, the 90-day, release clause thing. And that way, hopefully they're not as hot by the time someone wants them, because we've seen a lot of releases all year long, right? But this one just doesn't make sense because we sat here with the day before. I remember the draft. We sat here because that's when our show fell, and we said Hitrow are rumored to go up to main roster. They shouldn't go. We both knew that they shouldn't go. Legado del Fantasma, if you wanted the faction, that was the people that should have went.
Yeah.
And for you to move these guys, and like you just said, the timeline of it all perfectly, a matter of weeks after b-fab has gone, a week or 2 weeks after that, the entire faction has gone.
Right.
This, like, what is going on here? What is going on here? Like, you have to have plans for these people. Why are you bringing them up if you don't have a plan?
Go to a couple of comments. So we go to Daniel Price's second comment. Hitrow did it to themselves. Francis called in the front office to complain when you didn't have that kind of clout on top of getting heat backstage while green and new is a no-no.
I've got a story. When you're done with the comments, I've got a story on AJ Francis I'll give you.
Yeah. NK says, I was not surprised in the slightest about Hitrow. I knew the main roster had no vision. With WWE, it's the hope that kills you. Yep, for sure. Seeing is believing. He will show you who he's invested in. I'll be very frank and honest as well, actually. To be fair, I'm not surprised that they were released. My thing is more so this whole bringing them up just to release them, or bringing them up, having the vignettes, having the whatever else for a couple of weeks. Then b-fab disappears. Then they only have a week or 2 where they do next to nothing. Well, they had 1 match, and then you release them. That for me is the shocking part, not so much who it is and how WWE saw them. What is the point in bringing them up if you didn't have no plan? I just don't get it. It makes it even more vindictive. It makes it seem even more vindictive, especially when you just said about the whole, if they were on NXT, it would only be 30-day no compete clause. If they're on the main roster, it's 90 days. What was the point?
Yeah.
What was the point? What was you going to say? Go for it.
So yeah, there's been a lot of talk around AJ Francis, that's Top
Yes.
Dollar, and his conduct and things like that. And he's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I know he's been a controversial character to some because of everything that happened between them and AEW. People thinking he's too big for his boots, etc., etc. So this was a like an internal kind of press release put out by Fightful Friday last week after the releases. They said, we haven't heard anything specifically about Hitrow as a unit outside of AJ Francis' polarizing reaction on Twitter did carry over to some within the company. A couple of internal WWE sources compared him to Greg Hamilton. That was the commentator that was released some months ago, saying that he's getting a little too comfortable. We were told this was not the specific factor leading to his release or that of the group, but was an internal observation. There were others that enjoyed his approach within the company. At the same time, one of the sources said that Top Dollar was also highly regarded for his hosting ability and dedication to the Hitrow team. He was once considered to host Raw Underground before they went a different direction. There were some significant creative pitches for Hitrow. We just haven't heard how far they got. There was plenty of back and forth internally as to who should lead as the singles talent in the group, if they should be faces or heels, and the direction for them in general. Completely separate of Hitrow, we've heard from officials involved in multiple companies, including major ones, who have indicated they have already got interest in bringing in Swerve Scott, Strickland. For those wondering, he has a 90-day non-compete clause. So yeah, there's conflicting stories on AJ Francis. Obviously, we know Swerve would be the breakout star amongst this group anyway. He pretty much was before, but it doesn't make sense. Like you said, the call up to release a matter of weeks later, it just looks like this is a tactical move to, try to diminish the asset somewhat. Which is very vindictive, if that's
yeah. It's sad to think that people think like that, but in the world of business and when it's big business and all the rest of it, then yeah, it happens. It's sad to think that, especially with Swerve, that he came into NXT with on a pedestal, basically, with being like, he was, after Ricochet was signed, he was the top guy on the indies for so long. And there was so many rumors as to where he might be going, where he could go, where he wants to choose to go. We had a whole, 2 or 3 months of him kind of teasing this, that, and the next, and whatever else. And then when he went to NXT, a part of me, you know what, I was a little disappointed, if I'm honest, because I was fearful as to how he was going to be used. I can't remember whether that was down to just how he is or where the company was at the time. I can't remember which one, or a mixture of the two. But his run wasn't the greatest. There was no consistency in anything that he did. He was the North American champion for 109 days and defended it once.
Yeah.
Once. 109 days, how many months is that? Like
3 months and a bit.
3.5.
The best thing that Swerve done was his feud with Santos Escobar over the Cruiserweight Championship. And that, was years into, that was earlier this year? Maybe late last year. That was years into when he was signed. And then obviously just before he's been released, basically. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a good look.
And to comment on all that stuff, the backstage stuff with Top Dollar and him, being, a bit too big for his boots. I mean, he's massive, so he's got big boots anyway. But I don't know. I don't know. There's always going to be someone who dislikes someone who is very confident. I don't think he was brash and rude. He's very confident, knows what he wants, knows what he's about. Yes, he was green in the company. Yes, there's a little bit of hold back, a little bit maybe, but at the same time, a guy like that can't be walked all over either.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be some kind of pushback from a guy like that. And then at the same time, you can't then say he's being too big for his boots when the guy literally only just come into the company and then he's presenting a new show.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously saw something in him. He
Mm-hmm.
saw what they saw. That's not him being too big for his boots. That's
Bro,
him realizing what they saw.
you can't let me call myself top dollar and
Right?
then want me to be, a young buck, basically. Like he's, and excuse the pun, but yeah,
Yeah.
he is what you have said he is, what he's
Right.
presenting himself as.
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with all the stuff backstage. They've said that about Keith Lee. They said that about someone Bray Wyatt when Bray Wyatt was released. It seems like the minute you can speak up for yourself and show confidence, oh, you're a problem backstage.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I personally don't buy into it. We can see he is a confident character. We've seen him online and stuff like that. But yeah, don't try now, deter his character just because he's sure of himself.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right. It's that part. It's that part for me. Gosh. But moving on to AEW, we saw a great match. This feud that we're very much invested in, with Jade Cargill and Red Velvet. But it was for me a great showing from both. But it was the Jade Cargill show. It was exactly what and for me exactly what it should have been. Red Velvet's got the most amount of fire, and the way they interact and their feud has been great, and it's very much believable. But at the same time, it had to be Jade. It had to be Jade. The TBS Championship is for her. I'm even more confident now that TBS Championship is for her. Yeah. I'll actually now be very surprised if she doesn't win it. I think it would be, it would just be wrong if she doesn't, to be fair. How did you see the match go? What are your thoughts on Jade winning this whole thing?
Bro, I mean, we speculated once we heard the championship who could be the names around it. And we said, she isn't the most ready out of everybody. Deeb as a top heel for that division, if you like, would be a great choice. Ruby Soho as a top babyface for that division would be a great choice. But backing and putting this young title on one of your own homegrown people, it means a lot. I think it would mean a lot, especially to the AEW faithful, the core fans. We know she's not quite ready. However, there's ways they can protect her as the champion. She's the minute they, she's been calling herself, initials for TBS and everything since day one. You see what I mean? Like, she's made it play into her gimmick. It's worked for her. This Red Velvet story within this tournament was very good because obviously they've tied it in with the story now. It is probably, maybe just eclipsing Deeb and Shida, the little spat they had going into this tournament. This has jumped over it now. If they don't give her this title,
bro,
I'll be very interested to see how people feel online, because it's like you said, it's almost all roads lead to Jade Cargill holding up that title at this point, really. Yes, there's better competitors than her, but just in terms of how she's booked, her ranking, all of that kind of stuff. So if they don't give it to her, I wouldn't say I'm okay with it, because that's what I want to see as well. Unless they give it to someone like Ruby Soho, I wouldn't mind that. But if they don't give it to Jade, how are they going to deal with now explaining the top woman basically out of this division via the rankings, all of that stuff is now not the champion? How are they going to book that?
We had this discussion before, and it's just like, it just doesn't. There's too many potholes to cover, the easiest thing to do is just to give her that title. The easiest thing to do, and the thing that makes the most sense, is just to give her that title. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters about this whole, she's still green. She's only been about for a year and blah, blah, all of that kind of stuff. It doesn't actually matter. The way she looks, the way she's been booked, the way she's progressed, as green as she is,
the
way she's progressed, she's doing something new in every match. Especially in the bigger matches, like either on Dynamite or on Rampage. She's giving us something different every single time. And yes, that's her learning, but then she's also doing something that veterans are not able to do right now.
Yeah.
A Daniel Bryan match looks exactly the same. We love it. It's not to say that it's a bad thing, but it looks exactly the same every single time. Jade's matches, they look a little bit different every single time. And for me, that's a major thing for me. That's a big point for her. So for me, it has to be her. It has to be her. Yes, there are others where we're like, it would, it's not so bad if it was Ruby Soho, Serena Deeb, even Nyla Rose. Almost any at the start of the competition, any of those women, I wouldn't be arguing about if they built it correctly. Any of those women could have won that, and I'd be okay. But now we're at a place where it's got to be Jade. It's got to be Jade. It's got to be Jade. Also, to mention very quickly, let's not take away. Nyla Rose was the first one to reach the semifinal after she beat Hikaru Shida on Dynamite. Both women, the first two women to reach 50 wins in AEW. That's a big thing. Both former AEW Women's Champions as well. So that match had massive stakes on it as well. So it was nice to see her win. Yes, it was. Serena Deeb came out and done the whole behind the referee thing.
Yeah,
a bit nice. But yeah, it's interesting to see what will happen with Nyla Rose as well going into her next round, whoever she faces and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it's gotta be Jade.
Nyla's not winning, and I don't want to see Nyla win either.
No.
It has definitely got to be between Ruby Soho and Jade Cargill.
Right.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, really. But yeah, I think this tournament so far has been very good. The intrigue has been good. It's been better than that men's world title eliminator one that Daniel Bryan won at Full Gear. This has been booked a bit better. Yeah, this has been booked a bit better. So yeah, small improvements in general to the women's division. But yeah, this has got to be Jade.
Staying with AEW, and we talk about him almost every week as well. Dante Martin, Lio Rush, Team Taz. This whole thing is a little bit weird. Actually, before I even get to Team Taz, let me just shout out the Acclaimed. I'm such a massive fan of those two. It's crazy. They are just everything they need to be. They are everything. But yeah, shout out to them. That match was a really good one. The Acclaimed versus Lio Rush and Dante Martin as well. But yeah, after the match, we had Team Taz, Ricky Starks, Taz, Will Hobbs or Powerhouse Hobbs, sorry, and Hook come out and sell themselves again to try and recruit Dante Martin. This time, Lio Rush was actually in the ring. Well done to them. I personally do not see the point in any of this whatsoever. I don't understand any of it,
bro.
For two biggest reasons. The main reason being, Lio Rush has come in as a heel, right? Yeah, they're putting on great performances, but to me, Lio Rush is still a heel in the sense of, there's still Darius Martin sitting at home wondering what's going to happen when he comes back and his brother and blah, blah. There's all of that still to come. He's taken Dante Martin away from Matt Sydal as well. Lio Rush is still a heel to me. So then you've got this heel faction who we've said a few weeks ago have no clout because they've lost every single feud that they've ever been in. trying to get young Dante Martin on side. What is the point?
Bro, this is what I when I complain about the usage of Ricky Starks, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is mid-card fodder. This is
mid.
If this was on WWE, the noise that would be being made would be astronomical. Like you rightly said, Team Taz have done nothing of real interest since day one. Like, now they're here trying to recruit. Dante Martin's just asked them, "What have you done? What have you done for me that I would want to come and join you lot?" And done, because the conversation will be over. Like, what is this? This isn't. We don't want to just see these guys on TV. Put them in meaningful stuff. This is what I mean. And we spoke about the pillars and all of that kind of stuff. And I really don't want to kind of make this like a black on white or this versus that kind of thing. But Ricky Starks is amongst them, man. In terms of ability, talent, if not passing some of them in some of those departments.
Passing all four of them. But anyway.
So I don't understand why he's here. And yes, I know some people say that he's maybe injury issues, etc., etc. Okay.
Oh, he's not injured. He had a match yesterday.
Okay, well, he's not injured then. So can't we find something more meaningful for this guy to do? And I know there will be seasons where this month you're working with this top guy or this top guy or involved in this top feud, and maybe a couple months afterwards we'll bring you back down, get some wins in the mid card and stuff.
Right.
But he has been in the mid card, like just circling now. Like, this is just absolute nonsense. I'm not invested in it. I don't even want to see Lio Rush and Dante Martin here, because it's as if I think they mentioned that they're getting some wins, going towards a tag team title or that title picture. Why are we now involving them in this? Like, just to distract them? Like, this is nonsense.
And this is the thing. And this is the thing. You have something in front of you already. You don't need to add this nonsensical Team Taz thing in there. They beat the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed are ranked number 4 in the tag team division, bro. Dante Martin and Lio Rush have had 2, no more than 3 matches, and they beat the number 4 tag team. This is what you run with. Run with the tag team thing for a while. You know what I mean? You've got something to work with. Throwing this Team Taz for no reason makes no sense. Keep them with having a feud with the Acclaimed if they have to. Dante Martin versus Max Caster next week. Lio Rush versus Anthony Bowens the week after. Like, just keep it going. Why are we doing this thing with Team Taz? And going back to your point about Ricky Starks, I'll say it again and again, but people keep saying the same thing every single week on Twitter. He is not injured. The guy is not injured. He's just not being used apart from behind the commentary desk, which I think for me is just ridiculous as well. As great as he is on there and he can talk all day and I could listen to him all day, yes, that's why he's there. But at the same time, he should be doing that in the ring. So if he's not going to wrestle every week, even if he was injured, a guy like that could still talk every single week. What has MJF done for the last year?
It's true.
How many matches has MJF had? Really? You know what I mean? But yet, what does he do every single week? He comes out and he talks, and no one's complaining. I'm not complaining. But then comparing to Ricky Starks, I don't get it, bro. I don't get it. And then obviously we missed that whole thing with the possible feud with CM Punk.
Yeah,
that was like 3, 4, 6 weeks minimum of booking you could have had with CM Punk and Team Taz.
Yeah, and they cut that short. I like, for me, even they should probably still be, and I don't know what their plans are, obviously, but tell the story more of, okay, if these lot are picking up wins, Lio Rush and Dante Martin moving closer towards challenging for the tag titles, we still need to see Dante Martin develop as a character.
Right.
We still need to see him, does he trust Lio Rush? Maybe people backstage saying to him, are you sure about this guy, sort of thing. Dante Martin saying to Lio Rush, like, oh, I always thought when I'll become number 1 contender and have my first tag team title match, I'll be alongside my brother. That, annoys Leo Rush or something and makes him maybe outburst. Like, develop what you have there. Like, I'm just not sure why Team Taz are getting involved with this. And like I say, Team Taz in general, they just need to do something more meaningful, because apart from the fact that Team Taz has already kind of names in terms of Taz and Ricky Starks, developed talents. Obviously, we know Hobbs and Hook, especially, we ain't seen much from. What is really the difference between Team Taz and the Factory? They're very similar in terms of not doing much. Team Taz are just like dressed up nicely in, like, it's like a Selfridges bag or a Primark bag, or for our American viewers, I don't know, like a 7-Eleven bag. One's a 7-Eleven bag and the other one comes straight out of, I don't know, your department stores over there. But like
Walmart.
Yeah, it's like they're doing the same thing, but their packaging looks different.
Yeah.
The same thing they're doing is nothing.
I don't know. It's just perplexing, bro. Just as to how this talent is being used, and we get this encouragement of Dante Martin and Leo Rush and where that's gonna go and where it can go, but then we get this happen, and you're just like, what? You just pointed out 3 very simple things that come with the dynamics with Leo Rush with Dante Martin. Dante Martin thinking, okay, what am I going to do with my brother if and when my brother comes back? 2, I'm going to new heights, and then Leo Rush is going to be feeling as if, it should be him and not Dante Martin. Someone coming out, a face coming out and questioning why Dante Martin's with Leo Rush. We had that with Matt Sydal. Maybe Matt Sydal wasn't a big enough star to kind of keep that, something like that going, but then there's someone else that could come out and do that.
Yeah.
Why we're doing it with Team Taz? Swap it with the Factory is it's no different. If that was QT Marshall coming out saying the same things as Ricky Starks, we'd be looking at exactly what is the point.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a madness, bro. It's an absolute madness. I don't get it at all.
Makes
but
no
then
sense.
this is where we are, and this is AW. Yeah, the pillars. Gosh, this is the end of. Well, we're coming very close to the end of the show. We have a couple of minutes just to throw in this little bit. Our stars of the week. Mex, I'm gonna throw you in the deep end and ask you to pick who you think your star of the week has been.
Okay, I'm gonna pick the tandem, if I can.
Okay.
Of Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams.
Oh, we bad it.
Bad it. They're warming up. They're getting good. Trick Williams is finding his form as a hype man. There was some good. There wasn't much in terms of action from them in the past week, but there was a good promo between Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, of course, Pete Dunne, and Johnny Gargano. Tonight on NXT, we're going to get a triple threat match for the North American Championship. Expect Carmelo Hayes to retain. I expect Johnny Gargano to take the fall. It's mad to think that Johnny Gargano's contract is set to expire next week. I think it's either next week, Thursday or Friday, maybe. I can't quite remember, but yeah. So I expect he's going to take the defeat here, and this could be the last we see of Johnny Gargano in NXT. But if there's anyone better to have, like, a final farewell match with, Johnny Gargano will make you enhance your star because he's already a star.
Of course.
So yeah, very much looking forward to that. But yeah, them two have been doing a pretty good job so far.
What I loved about what happened last week with Carmelo Hayes is the fact that it was him that
instigated it. Yeah,
instigated the match. Even as a heel, usually it would be someone else or an official or one of the other wrestlers that would say, triple threat match, and they'd be like, no. But he was like, yo, listen, all right, if you want to do it, let's do it. Triple threat. So instead of it being Gargano or Pete Dunne, I'll have both triple threat. I thought that was phenomenal. And yeah, I expect him to retain as well. It's interesting if Gargano takes the 4 and Carmelo gets the pin over the most decorated guy in NXT.
Probably, yeah.
In terms of the amount of titles he's won and what titles he's won, all the rest is a Grand Slam, and he's won a couple of them more than once. So that would be phenomenal. For me, my star of the week is a bit of a, not random, but not exactly like the top star, but I just needed to shout him out. For me, Ricochet.
Yeah, I like that.
I like what he did. I like what he's been involved in this week. He had a great showing in that match on SmackDown, and ended up in as the final 2 in the slightly pointless battle royal, but at the same time, number 2 with Omos, and showed a bit of he showed a lot of heart and bravery. Going up against this tall 7'3" Nigerian who just blasted everyone else out of the ring. And Ricochet was like, right, taking t-shirt off, let's go for it. That was great to see. So yeah, for me, it's Ricochet. I'm hoping in some sort of way, and I probably say this every time I mention Ricochet, but I'm hoping in some sort of way it's a sign to show us that he's gonna have a bit of a run or something, and you know what I mean. Just
over the last couple of weeks, it has felt that way.
Yeah,
he faced Drew. He had the other match on SmackDown. He had this showing in the Battle Royal. It does feel like something is happening, but I guess we can only be optimistic.
Ricochet in the waters, and shout out to him as well, because his new girlfriend, or they kind of made it a public thing. Is I can't remember her name now, but she's
Samantha Irwin.
Samantha Irwin, that's the one. The backstage interviewer and announcer on NXT. So good luck to him with that as well. So yeah, man, Ricochet's the man right now.
100%.
That guy. Guys, this has been WrstlXtra. We are finished, done for this week. You have been watching on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel and listening on AffinityExtra.com. Follow us both on Instagram and on Twitter. Me, Black Wrestling Alliance, Black Wrestling A on Twitter. I make noise, and WrestleManiac UK on Twitter, and WrestleManiac.uk on Instagram. It hurts my tongue every single time I've got to say all of that. Tonguetwisters.com. Catch us here, there, and everywhere, especially this guy. Also check out Wrestling's the Kick Out podcast. And the new WrestleManiac UK show podcast.
Yes.
Yo! Just came out last week. I think the new one's coming out tomorrow, did you say?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, which is Wednesday, if you're not listening live. So yeah, man, check us out, and we will see you again next week, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.